Hi, I'm Wes Snow, co-founder of Ascendix. If you're a landlord rep, here's your real job. An owner handed you their building and said, go fill it and keep me in the loop. So now you're running marketing, fielding inquiries, qualifying them, scheduling tours, chasing prospects, and on top of all of it, you're accountable to an owner who wants to know what you've done for them lately. The activity is relentless, and most of it never makes it into the CRM because logging it is time consuming. So the inquiries scatter across your inbox, the marketing history lives in your head, and when the owner calls for an update, you spend half a day reconstructing it from memory. What I'm going to show you is what happens when all of that just captures itself, and the system can hand you the owner report, tell you which listing is stalling, and warn you which tenant you're about to lose before any of it becomes a problem. The AI suite is really a few tools working together. Two of them live right inside your CRM. Harvest, which pulls structured records straight out of your email, and an AI agent built into AscendixRE that you just talked to. And then there's a connection out to Claude or other AI tools like ChatGPT or Copilot for the heavier analysis over your data. Watch how they hand off to each other as I run a listing broker's day. Let's get into it. Here's how an inquiry usually shows up. A prospect emails you about one of your listings. Normally that email will sit in your inbox, and if you're lucky, you'll remember to log it against the listing later. Watch what Harvest does with it instead. I forwarded this email from Outlook to Harvest, and as you can see, the AI has already parsed the email on the left and drafted an inquiry record on the right. One forwarded email became a structured inquiry logged against the right listing with the prospect's name, what they're looking for, and where it came from. I didn't type a thing. Every inquiry that lands this way is now tracked against the listing instead of lost in my inbox. Now that one came in from an email, but just as often the phone rings. I just took a call about one of my listings and the prospect rattled off what they need. Instead of scribbling it on a notepad and logging it later, if I remember, I'm going to capture it right now just by talking to the AI agent built into AscendixRE. I just got a call about the Vantage Point lease listing from Marisol Reyes at the Marisol Group. Her email is marisol@marisolgroup.com and her phone number is 214-555-0760. Please record an inquiry linked to the Vantage Point lease listing. They're looking for about 25,000 square feet of Class A office in Las Colinas, and they want to tour in the next few weeks. Inquiry captured, tied to the Vantage Point listing before I even hung up the phone. Company, contact, the requirement, all of it, without touching a single form. Between Harvest reading my email and this agent taking what I say, every inquiry on every listing gets captured the moment it happens. That's the foundation everything else is built on, because an inquiry you never logged is a deal you can't work and a number you can't report. So those two tools, Harvest and the agent, get everything captured inside my CRM. Now I want to actually work one, and for the matching, I'm going to move out to Claude, connected to my AscendixRE data. You'll notice this doesn't look like Salesforce anymore. That's the point. This is where the analysis happens. Here's the situation. North Point Holdings inquired specifically about Stillwater Tower. A normal broker answers about Stillwater and stops there, but I represent a whole portfolio, so let me ask the smarter question. North Point Holdings inquired on Stillwater Tower. They need about 15,000 square feet of Class A office in or near Uptown. Budget, mid-30s to low 40s. Beyond Stillwater, which of my other active listings also fit what they're looking for? Show the building, the submarket, and the available space, and the owner. Look at that. They asked about one building, and the system just showed me two more of my listings that fit them, including one right in the same submarket they'd never found on their own. That's the whole game for a listing broker. Every inquiry is a chance to fill any of my spaces, not just the one they happen to call about. A prospect who inquires on one building and gets shown 3 is a prospect far more likely to place, and an owner whose buildings get filled because I had the inventory in front of me. Matching shows breadth, but let me show you depth because one of these prospects is ready right now. Castle Peak Partners toured Stillwater a few weeks ago, and they're moving forward on about 16,000 feet. So let me turn that tour into a real deal in my pipeline, and I'll do it right here in Claude because Claude doesn't read my data, it can write it too. Castle Peak Partners toured Stillwater Tower and is moving forward on 16,000 square feet at $40 per square foot on a 7-year term with our standard 4% fee. Create a landlord rep deal on the Stillwater Tower listing for Castle Peak Partners at proposal stage, carrying over the listing broker so it's tied to me, and confirm the gross deal value and fee. Done. And notice it didn't just create the deal, it did the math. A $4.5 million lease and my fee on it. Calculated the moment I described the terms. That tour is now a monetized deal in my Stillwater pipeline from one sentence. Now, the part of this job that eats your life, owner reporting. Margaret at Wexford owns Stillwater Tower, and last week she asked me for a written summary she can take to her investment committee. What have we done? What's the response been? What's the recommendation? Normally, that's half a day of digging through my inbox and my calendar trying to reconstruct 3 months of activity. But because of all that activity, captured itself as I went, including that Castle Peak deal I just logged a minute ago, I can just ask for the report. Generate an owner activity report in a branded PDF document from Margaret Devlin at Wexford on the Stillwater Tower listing. Summarize the marketing we've done, the inquiries and tours it generated, where the active pipeline stands, and give a short recommendation, written so I can send it straight to her investment committee. And there's the report. The Castle Peak deal I created 60 seconds ago is right there in the report in the pipeline section next to Halverson. That's the proof this isn't a document I prepared earlier. It read my pipeline live the instant I asked. A report I normally have blocked out an afternoon for, done in seconds. Current to this minute, in a tone I can send straight to her committee. And here's the thing every landlord rep will feel in their gut. This is the deliverable owners judge you on. The broker who sends a sharp, timely report keeps the listing and gets the next one. The broker who goes quiet loses the relationship. This single capability is the one that protects your most important asset, the owner's trust. For a lot of you, that's the whole suite paying for itself right there. Here's a question I should be asking every week but rarely have time to. Across everything I'm marketing, which listing is stalling? Because the listing that's quietly dying is the one that gets me fired by an owner who feels ignored. Let me have the system look across my whole book and tell me where I have a problem before the owner does. Look across my active landlord rep listings on the market in the last 6 months that have marketing activity logged this year. Which are underperforming, long on market, or generating marketing activity but few or no qualified inquiries or tours. For any that are stalling, tell me what the activity notes suggest is the cause. There it is, Belmont, on the market 4 months. I've done the marketing, but it's getting no traction. And the system pulled the reason straight out of my notes. Every broker who looked says the rate's too high for that submarket. Now I can go to Northbridge with evidence and a recommendation. Here's the activity, here's the market feedback, let's talk about the rate. Instead of waiting for them to call me asking why it hasn't leased. That's the difference between looking proactive and looking asleep at the wheel. Last one, and it's the one landlord reps underplay. Everyone chases new tenants. The real money is keeping the ones you've got. And here's the thing. This is exactly the kind of question I'm asked when I'm not at my desk. I'm walking into a building to see a tenant, and before I do, I want to know where I stand. So I've got Claude right here on my phone. Every in-place tenant whose lease is coming up is a tenant some tenant rep is about to start circling. So let me ask, right before I walk in, who's renewing and who do I need to worry about? Across the buildings I represent, which in-place tenants have leases expiring in the next 12 to 18 months? For each, give the building, the size, and the expiration. And based on my notes, flag any tenant who's a retention risk I should engage now rather than later. And I'm getting all this on my phone. In the 2 minutes before I walk into the building, there's my renewal pipeline. Look at Verano. Lease isn't up for another year and a half. My notes say they're busting out their space. And Claude connected those dots. A growing tenant with a renewal on the horizon is exactly who a tenant rep poaches. So now I walk into that meeting already knowing to talk expansion. I engage them now, and I keep that income in my owner's building instead of watching it walk across the street. That's the whole job, done from my pocket. Defense like that is worth more to an owner than half the new deals I'll do all year. Here's something most brokers never get to see. The reason we don't track commissions is that entering them is a chore. So we fly blind on our pipeline. But because every one of these listing deals got captured as we worked, the system can already tell me what my pipeline is worth and when it's likely to pay. Let me ask about my own commissions. Based on my own commission splits, take my open landlord rep deals and tell me my projected commissions on each, weighted by probability and roughly when each would pay based on the expected close date. Give me my total weighted pipeline. For the first time, I can see my own pipeline in dollars. What's weighted, what's likely, and when it pays. I never did a minute of commission data entry to get it. It just accumulated as I worked. For a broker, that's the visibility you've never had. For a brokerage, that's every broker's pipeline finally on the books. So that's the AI suite for the way a landlord rep actually works. 3 tools working together. Harvest pulls inquiries right out of your email. The AI agent inside AscendixRE lets you capture a phoned-in inquiry just by talking to your CRM, and Claude does the heavy lifting, matching demand across your whole portfolio, writing the owner report, telling you which listing is stalling before the owner does, and warning you which tenant you're about to lose while there's still time to keep them. Every inquiry captured, every owner kept informed, every listing watched, every tenant defended, and a view of your own pipeline you've never had. If you're carrying owners' buildings and drowning in the activity it takes to do it right, let's talk. Thanks for watching.